Look, this one's going to get weird, okay? And it's going to get weird because I have been listening to an alien. And the alien has been saying things, and I'm taking some of them to heart, and I'm going to talk a little bit about it. I'm going to attempt to wax semi-eloquent about it after we do the thing. The alien is called Bashar. Bashar, the alien Bashar, or not a specific alien, but I think a collection of telepathic aliens. Hang with me, kids. Just hang with me on this, all right? A collection of telepathic aliens who are channeled by a cat of human origin called Daryl Anka. And he's been channeling Bashar since the early 80s. And a lot of you might be switching off right now. I don't want you to do that, okay? I want you to hang with me on this. Now, you can have your opinions on this kind of esoteric stuff, all right? You can have your opinions on spirit guides. You can have your opinion on aliens. You can have your opinion on tarot, on psychics, on channeling. You can have your opinions on all of that stuff. You have come into this reality, if it is one, with free will and the option to choose. I'm not asking you to believe that there is a collection of telepathic aliens called Bashar that is speaking through a human called Daryl Anka, providing esoteric but practical wisdom for life here on this planet. I'm not asking you to believe that Esther Hicks is channeling an entity called Abraham or a collection of entities called Abraham. I am not asking you to believe that Paul Selig is channeling a collection of spirits known as the guides into all of the books and all of the seminars and all of the stuff that he does. I have spoken personally with Paul Selig's guides on 2 separate occasions. I'm not asking you to believe in any of that. All I'm asking you to do is treat what those things say, what those people say, what those entities, if they exist, say, what the tarot says, what the psychic says, as information. I'm asking you to suspend the origin and simply consider the information. Now, I do regular tarot readings because I'm interested in that kind of stuff. And I simply treat it as information. Now, I've talked about this on the show before. You don't have to believe in any of that stuff. You don't have to believe anything is real beyond your 6 senses. That's up to you. I have my own thoughts. You can have yours. I'm merely asking you to consider the information and how you react to the information that gets presented. I've said before, you might go to a tarot session or a psychic session, and the psychic says, in 6 months, you're going to move to Africa. And that may or may not be true. That might be a complete fabrication. The psychic might be a complete fraud. Doesn't matter. What matters is, what do you feel about moving in 6 months to Africa? Does that excite you? Does that resonate with you? Does that terrify you? Is that like not a chance in the world? It's just information. And then you can begin to make decisions, formulate your life around some of that information. So it is with Bashar and Daryl Anka. Now, I watch a lot of weird esoteric stuff on YouTube, and so Bashar was introduced into my algorithm, and I choose to believe at a timely moment in my life when the cat had information which is useful for me. Now, I treat that as divine timing. I treat that as synchronicity. I treat that as cosmic in my own way. You don't have to. You can call it just good luck from the algorithm, and that's all good by me. You do you, kids. I'm doing me. And Bashar has a lot to say about life on this planet and how to live it. And a lot of it makes a great deal of sense to me. one of the things he talks about, which is why it feels divine to me, is he talks about this notion of following your excitement. Why is that relevant to me right now? Because, as I've talked about on recent episodes, I'm struggling with excitement. I am struggling with passion. I am struggling with direction in life. I'm struggling with wanting to do much of anything, apart from play pickleball. And so my traditional passions, the things upon which I have traditionally hung my life, at least for the past 15 years or so, that is being a drummer, that is playing music, that is creating this podcast, that has at various times been blogging, whatever. That stuff has just become such a struggle. Over the past couple of years, year and a half, it's become an intense struggle for me to invest in those things. And there's a logical reason for that. There's a couple of them. The first is, of course, the dissolution, the separation of my marriage a year and a half ago. And even though that's an amicable split, and it's been as gentle and easy and humane and intentional as possible, and it's fine, it still comes with a heavy-duty dose of existential angst, and it comes with an emotional component. How can it not? I was married for 27 years. You get kind of used to a person. You get kind of used to a way of life, even if that way of life isn't all that much working for both of you. Doesn't mean that the life is bad. Doesn't mean that things were terrible. It just means that you come to a realization whereby things aren't as fulfilling as they might be. And it's an agreement that things aren't going to be as fulfilling as they might be, no matter what you do. And you say, okay. You say, I have affection for you. I don't wish you ill. I wish you the best. I understand that we have had an experience together and that experience is over. And we can move gently on into the next phase of our lives with well wishes for everyone. You know, it's not always the case where a marriage ends because it's hostile and terrible and violent and whatever. A lot of times that happens. Okay. It's not always the case. Sometimes things end because it's time for them to end. And two people realize that while they do not dislike each other, while they do not wish ill upon each other, the life that they're living together isn't fulfilling for both of them, and it's not going to be. Well, there are cases where people realize it's not as fulfilling as it could be, but I think if we work together on it, it can be again. And that's for every couple to decide. In my case, it was like, it's not what it could be, and it's not going to be what it could be. And I wish the best for you, and you wish the best for me. And let's celebrate the time we've had and move on. This episode is not about my marriage breaking down. The point is, even though it was as gentle and amicable and intentional as it could be, it still comes with a heavy emotional component. And it comes with, particularly if you're wired the way I am, it comes initially with a sense of anxiety and trepidation. I don't do change all that well. All right, it's just my nature. I am prone to anxious thoughts. I am prone to anxiety. And so change for me, I'm capable of it, but it tends to be a process. And so even though things are gentle, it's a complete obliteration of a life. It's a complete obliteration of what you thought was going to happen. And ultimately, that turns out to be a good thing. Like, yay, it could be better for both of us. But in the initial phases, it's a threat, right? It is a threat to your lifestyle. It is a threat to what is normal. It is a threat to what is comfortable. And what comes with that is an anxiety if you're me. Initially, as my default setting has been a sense of anxiety about change, and I'm not the only one. And so then there become all these questions about what is life going to be? How is this going to unfold? Where am I going to live? et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The initial reaction, and there's an ego that comes into it too, of course. And all of that can be negative, right? And so from the initial steps here, it becomes kind of a negative thing. There's a little tiny sprout of optimism, but it's planted in a lot of anxiety and fear about the future. And if you're like me, when you find yourself in anxiety and fear, it can become very difficult to let your quote unquote passions in. It can be very difficult to want to make a podcast. It can be very difficult to want to be public. It can be very difficult even to play the drums because you're undergoing such seismic change and it doesn't feel positive initially. It feels dangerous. It's a whole lot of uncertainty and questions. And I tend to become very insular. I tend to shut down and go inside so as to protect and preserve myself. And so in the initial phases of this separation, which is a year and a half on now, it's all different now. But in the initial phases of that, my desire to do much of anything shut down because I was in a shock initially and in a survival mode. And it's very, very difficult to indulge those passions when you are in shock and survival mode. When I had my big anxiety breakdown during the pandemic, it's interesting because music became something of a savior in those days. I was, as you know, Sarah Harmer had just released her new record at the time, Are You Gone? And as a way of keeping my marbles, I dedicated myself to learning that record. And so that was like a survival mechanism. But my inclination when I get into a fearful or anxious state, an uncertain state, tends not to be to go to those passions. It tends to be to shut down. And that's just me processing. That's just me consolidating, and it's fine. So for a period of time, I was not indulging my excitements. I was not indulging my passions because I was consolidating, trying to stabilize in some way, trying to keep it together during this huge seismic change in my relationships in my life. And then I got a job, which altered my schedule, which altered my energy. And over time, a lot of the things that I was trying to do, I didn't have the impetus or the bandwidth for. That includes the podcast. That includes music. And then this weird thing happened whereby I just have like a 6-month block in my schedule of no gigs. I haven't played a gig since last November. Unprecedented since I started taking music seriously 15 years ago. And what do? It's weird, but I've struggled mightily with my passions. I'm at a real interesting crossroads / turning point in my life where I'm taking a look at how is it that I want to live? What is it that fuels me? What is it that I want to pursue, in this next new chapter that's unfolding? And that can be a scary thing too. If you are driven by a kind of ego that says, well, I'm a drummer, damn it, and that's what I'm going to do with myself, which can be fine if that's your conviction and that's your intent. But if it kind of isn't, but you're holding on to that as something to depend on or as an ego thing, it can really blind you. It can really blind you to what's meant for you. One of the things that I've had to learn throughout all this process, beginning probably even before 2020, but let's call it from the pandemic on, has been this process of really learning to let go of and surrender how I think things need to be. One of the things that's a problem for most people is as they say, well, I can let go. I can surrender this dream I have. I can let go of this dream that I have and give it over to the universe or life or synchronicity or whatever. But they still hold on to this idea that it has to happen a certain way. Right? And what I'm learning over time is that when you hold on to things needing to be a certain way, it causes pain. It causes attachment because however it is you want things to be might not be the best way for things to unfold. And there are lots and lots and lots of examples of that. And we've all had experiences whereby when we let go of how things need to unfold, when we let go of timing, when we let go of how things need to be, all of a sudden, what it is that we wanted falls into place very quickly because we're not blocking the energy of it. We're not blocking the unfolding. One of the things that Bashar talks about, one of the things that, if you don't want to believe in an alien entity or consciousness, one of the things that people have been saying for thousands of years in esoteric circles is that you do not force life, you allow life. Now, this is the Tao. This is the art of not doing. This is the art of going through life and allowing it to unfold and holding on to this faith that it will unfold in the best possible way to your best possible good if you get out of the way and let that happen. It doesn't mean you don't do anything. It means that you participate in whatever it is that fires you, that fuels you, and then you step back and allow the results of that, allow life to unfold in the best possible way. Well, that's not something I've ever been good at. It's not until I started playing music and then I started trying to have a career and then I started working as a hired gun and then that I began to understand this concept of allowing, because I always want to control, right? I always want to control how life unfolds. I always want to control everything. And that's my own psychology to deal with. And I am in therapy, and that traces its roots to childhood and all sorts of stuff. Needing to control is a way of trying to keep fear at bay. Relying upon yourself. Well, entities like Bashar or Ram Dass or ancient wisdom that goes far beyond even that says the key is to allow. I haven't been very good at that, but I've been learning these lessons over time that I need to do that. How did I get onto allowing? I can't remember. I'm free-forming this today, kids, all right? This is an improvisation. Point is, I've been taught by life over and over the past several years to let go and to allow. And so I find myself at this crossroads right now where life is taking on a very different shape. And I have learned, I have had examples in my own life recently of how things fall into place when you let go. Things fall into place when you have a desire and you put that desire into the universe, and then you step back and allow the universe to deliver that in its own perfect timing and in its own perfect way. Those of us who are impatient can struggle with that mightily, but you've got to hold on to this idea that if there's something that you want, something that you desire, and it's not coming to you, a lot of times it's a timing thing. A lot of the time it is holding on to this idea that it will come in its own time. And if you allow its time, it'll work out much better, much more easily than it would have if you had exerted your control on it and forced it into existence in the way that your ego or your anxiety or your fear wanted it to. There's a lot of weird stuff rolled up in that. Point is, I'm at a crossroads, and I've been struggling with my passions. I've been struggling with what it is I'm going to do. And in this moment, I encountered the teachings of Bashar. Again, you don't have to believe in Bashar. You can believe that Daryl Ank is making this up as he goes. And wow, what a magic trick that is. And you can imagine that Paul Selig is making it up as he goes. And that would be an amazing trick. Because if you have ever watched Paul Selig channel, at least until very recently, he gets a message from the guides who exist beyond what we can see, beyond our traditional senses. Extrasensory they are. And he will say very quickly the line and then say very slowly the line, right? So there'd be like this rapid sentence followed by a longer sentence, rapid sentence followed by a longer sentence. I don't think you can fake that. It's amazing if you can fake that. Paul Selig doesn't do that anymore, but go watch Paul Selig from 4, 5, 10 years ago. And if he's faking that, that's one hell of a magic trick, and it doesn't matter anyways. You listen to what the information is. And so I count it as divine timing, or if you like, synchronicity, or just damn good luck that I'm at this moment whereby I need a little bit of wisdom, I need a little bit of help, and along comes Bashar, just when I happen to need it. One of the things that Bashar is always talking about is following your excitement. In any given moment, not just big picture, but in any given moment, following what is, at very least, of most interest to you in that moment. Now, I've been struggling with, what do I do now? I don't have a lot of impetus to play the drums. I don't have a lot of impetus. It's not that I don't have the impetus to make this podcast. It's just that I struggle week by week to have anything to talk about anymore. Partly that's because I feel like I've said almost everything I know. Partly that's there isn't a whole hell of a lot going on in my life that I can talk about that might interest you. I haven't had any gigs. There's just not much happening over here that I can talk about. And so what do I say? And so I sit here and I think, well, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? And it's very easy to begin panicking when you don't know what you're going to do, and you don't know what you want to do, or when you have some idea what you want to do, but you don't know how, or you don't believe it's possible. But for those of us who are kind of stuck right now with where do we go, there's a lot of heaviness in the world. That's another factor in where I'm at right now. It's like, how do I make a podcast that's positive news? Not even news, it's positive talk. How do I make a podcast that is in some way uplifting, interesting, and it feels like an abdication of duty, a dereliction, to not talk about how awful things are in some ways. This sort of heavy, toxic fear, darkness that seems pervasive in the world right now with all the political stuff that's happening and its ramifications and its potential for the future to cause God knows what chaos. Is it irresponsible of me to not be addressing some of this stuff? Maybe. I want this to be positive talk. And so I guess as an antidote to some of that, I'm trying to bring you not exactly something to believe in, but at least something to focus on, something that pulls away from all of the crazy stuff that's going on and its implications for almost everybody in the world. I'm Canadian. I live in Canada. My country is not at war right now, but the price of gas would suggest it is, as an example, and that has a knock-on effect to the price of everything. And there is this question of, will Canada be in a war at some point? Of defense? Possibly. A couple of years ago, that seemed a heinous thing to think of, and now it's far less heinous. And travel is all messed up, and it's just every day a new layer of chaos and awfulness. And you step back and you go, how is this happening? How is this being allowed to happen? Why is nobody doing anything about any of this? And there's no answer to that. And what follows is a powerlessness. And then if you are inclined to anxiety, an enormous fear can settle in. And there just is a pervasive feeling of heaviness in the world for me. I am an empath. That's why I popped during the pandemic, because I sat there feeling the fear and anger in the world, and it just exploded me. And I feel the same sort of fear happening now. This uneasiness, this really dark, unbalanced, awful energy that is pervasive. And I could talk about some of these things, but I feel as though that's only adding to it. And so I'm trying to provide an alternative. I'm trying to provide something to be focused upon, which is an antidote to that darkness. Doesn't mean I don't acknowledge its existence, but I'm like, is it helpful for me to talk about these things? I'm not sure it is. And so I bring you Bashar. And if you are a person who has been affected by the way of the world right now, or if you're just at this crossroads in your life and you don't know what to do, which is probably a lot of us, as we get to our 50s, some of you will be retiring soon. Some of you are probably exiting relationships too, because it tends to happen around this time. people realize we're at a point where it's not too much longer that we can't really change this, right? It's like we're living a certain way. Do we want to spend the rest of our lives this way? Maybe we don't. And this is where change gets made. Or people's kids are out of the house now, and we're empty nesters, and we're looking across the table at each other like, who the hell are you? Or what do we want to do all of a sudden? We still love each other. We're retiring. What do we want to do? Or just day by day, what do we want life to be now? Well, if you're at one of those crossroads, if you're struggling with that, I have this suggestion from Bashar, which is to follow your excitement. That can be big picture. Like, I'm super excited, some of you right now, in playing music. Ever since the pandemic ended and the world is beginning to open up again and musical opportunities are coming, I'm just full bore. I'm full bore back into playing music again and trying to pursue that. And that is your big picture excitement. And so you have your path forward. You just follow that excitement and off you go into the world to do that. And that's terrific and that's fulfilling. Others of you may not have that big picture excitement. That's kind of where I'm at right now. And Bashar's talking about following your excitement, not just in the big picture, but moment by moment. It's like you wake up in the morning. Let's say it's a Saturday. You don't have to go to work. You are not obligated to anything time-wise. And Bashar would say, what is the most exciting thing for you to occupy yourself with at this moment? You may have a list of 4 or 5 things that you could do at this moment. You could watch something on TV. You could go for a walk. You could work out. You could paint something. You could make dinner. You could whatever. You could do your taxes. It's like, what is most exciting to you in that moment? What is most interesting to you in that moment? Do that. Do that, whatever it is. You say, well, what do I really want to do right now? What really appeals to me? I just want to go for a walk. Just want to go for a walk. It's like there's a list as long as your arm of things you should do. And it's like, no, but what my heart wants to do is just go for a walk. Or just sit on the couch for an hour and watch something on television. Or go clean up the leaves that the snow has left behind. Whatever it is. Or I feel like I just really want to get my friend and go for a coffee. Or whatever it is. It's like you may not have the big picture of your life, but in this particular moment, what most interests me, and then go pursue whatever that is. Read a book or look into this thing about glaciers or whatever. I really want to check out some new music. Just follow whatever that interest is in that moment. And the idea is that in this way, you may be pulled into your wider excitement, right? In this way, you begin to tap into this universal kind of flow, because the idea is that whatever it is that interests and excites you, whatever it is that forms the passion in your life, is the expression of your true essence. Now, in esoteric wisdom, the idea is that you came into this world from somewhere else very deliberately and very intentionally, and you chose this time, and you chose whatever problems it is that you have, and you chose whatever challenges it is that you have. And your innate desires, your innate interests, your innate passions are actually the very essence of yourself. And so one of the ways in which you tap into the bigger picture excitements in your life is to to train yourself to recognize, acknowledge, and follow the smaller excitements in your life. And so you're sitting there and you think, I don't know what to do. I'd really like just to go get a donut. And you think that's irresponsible and a waste of time. Or I'd like to play video games for half an hour. But I got to do all this yard work and I got to do this and I got to do that. No. Follow what is your highest excitement. Now, Bashar will use the example of you're just going out for a walk. You're struggling with a problem, right? You're struggling with a song you're writing. You're struggling with a decision you're making. And you don't know what to do, but you have this inclination to just go for a walk. And when you're on that walk, you have this inclination to just turn left down this street. And in so doing, you pass by two people who are talking, and in the conversation, the two sentences you hear are exactly the advice you needed. This is a synchronicity. This is the universe delivering the information you're looking for when you follow that particular inclination or excitement or interest you had, and the information comes to you. You allow, in a certain sense, that information to come to you. And you can roll your eyes at that, but I know for a fact that you've had synchronicities unfold that way, and you've probably treated it, some of you, as just dumb luck. Okay. But you don't have to treat it as dumb luck. You can treat it as intention. You can treat it as something higher than you, delivering to you the information, the circumstance, whatever it is that you need. It's like Matthew McConaughey in his book, Green Lights. That was the book, right? Where he talked about getting his big break, where he was just in university, was trying to be an actor, and his buddy was working at the bar at a hotel somewhere and would give him freebies if he came by on a Saturday night or whatever. And so McConaughey's like, I'm going to go to that bar tonight because I got nothing to do. And he's sitting talking to his buddy, and his buddy says, hey, over there in the corner he's here working on a film. You should go talk to him. McConaughey goes to talk to the guy. Guy turns out to be shooting Dazed and Confused. And why don't you come in and read for this part we're trying to cast, which turned out to be Wooderson, which turned out to be Matthew McConaughey's green light, as it were, into being Matthew McConaughey. Again, you can treat that as just dumb luck, or you can treat that as a divinely ordained synchronicity. Take a look at your life. Take a look at some of the things that are good in your life. The people, maybe you have a spouse whom you adore. Take a look at the circumstances of meeting that person, and then take a look at the odds of having met that person, or whatever good thing, even the job you've got, or whatever. Take a look at your life and the things that are in it, and think about the probability of those things. And is it all just cosmic accident? Is it all just dumb luck, good or bad? I choose not to look at it this way, and it's very reassuring to me. And so Bashar would say, in any given moment, follow whatever excitement or whatever interest is most prevalent to you. And then put no expectations on anything and just allow what comes to you. Now, there's a certain point early on in my separation when I recognized that our social circles, which had been combined, some of them were probably going to be decombined just as a consequence of the relationship breaking up. It hasn't been entirely the case because we've had an intentional and amicable breakup. Now, a lot of cases, people break up and it's heinous, and the friend group gets split, or somebody gets the friends and somebody doesn't. That happens a lot. Now, in the early stages of our breakup, I recognized very quickly that if our friend group was going to be, if it's going to be one of us, it was going to be her because they were her friends initially. Fortunately, we've all remained friends, and that's okay. But in the moment, it's like, I don't know how this is going to go. And it would probably be wise for me to find new circles. So it was like a goal I had, was to find new people. How am I going to do that? I mean, I had separate friends in the music scene and some friends from work, whatever. It's like, I need a new community, right? Part of my healing from this, part of my moving into a new life is going to require new people in a new community. What am I going to do? Well, what was my prevailing interest at the time? It was pickleball. So I said, okay, I will follow this interest. I will follow this excitement, and I'll see what I can do about meeting more people in pickleball. That took me to attending a couple of drop-ins at a club where I was playing, meeting a bunch of people, and then meeting in particular, a couple of those people blossomed into a whole new network and a whole new just group of folks who are my folks. And that has paid incredible dividends. The rewards of that have been amazing. And now I'm playing tournament pickleball. Now I'm on the pickleball court 5-6 times a week. And now some of the very most important people in my life have come into my life as a consequence of that simple inclination to follow that interest in pickleball. It's been life-changing in ways that I can't even tell you about. And it's just an example of that in action, of following in any given moment the interest that is most prominent to you. Even if you have a big picture goal, in my case, it was find a new community, and you didn't have any idea how to do that, following the micro interest in that moment led me into fulfilling that goal. And so you may have something like that too. Like you want to start a business. Okay, terrific. You don't know how to do that. You don't know quite what that business will be. Start. If you're really stuck and you don't know what to do, start by what is most interesting to you in that moment. And it might seem utterly unrelated. What's really interesting to me right now is I want to go to Halifax as an example. And then you follow that because that came from somewhere. And you go to Halifax. And when you're in Halifax, you walk into a bookstore for fun and you open up a book and it points you exactly to what it is you need to do with your business. Or you meet somebody at a bar watching a band one night, or the people you went to meet in Halifax, friends of yours from 20 years ago, have a friend who comes over who has exactly what it is you need. The exact information. It's like if I hadn't followed that inclination to go there, I may not have got that inclination, and my dream of starting this business may never have happened, or might have been delayed by 4 years. Who knows what? The idea is simply to follow the interest that's uppermost on your mind in any given moment. I understand people have responsibilities and stuff that needs to get done, but when the opportunity is there, just leaning into whatever it is that's most interesting right now. Geez, I haven't talked to him in a while. I'm going to shoot him a text. And then you shoot him a text and he's like, hey, I'm coming to town next weekend. Let's go here and do this thing. And then you do that and you meet the love of your life at that thing. It's following that interest and then putting no expectation on it whatsoever. Just following it because it was presented to you and then seeing where it leads. I had no idea that pickleball was going to lead into what it's become in my life right now and the people who have entered my life through it. Unbelievable, life-changing stuff. Well, I just needed a community, didn't know where to find one, and my intuition, my interest was lean into pickleball a little bit. And who knows what other rewards will come of that? Who knows? I have no idea. It's just an encouragement, I guess, in this weird, dark time when I think probably a lot of you like me, especially you musicians out there who saw the whole thing get blown up by COVID and not come back in the way that it was and may feel right now like it's not all that worth doing. This is one way to recalibrate. Now, maybe life has something different for you now. I don't know. Maybe it does for me. I don't know. But at the same time, life is delivering in wonderful ways. You know, I always say good things happen when you put yourself out there. It was announced last week that Fresh Breath got booked on the main stage at a festival in frigging Sweden this summer. Amazing! How did that happen? Well, Katie and Josh put themselves out there as entrants into a contest to play said festival, and they won. Congratulations, Josh and Katie, and thank you ever so much for taking the band with you to Sweden this summer. I haven't played in Europe since 2021, and who knows what doors get opened for the band over there as a result of playing this festival. That's because Josh and Katie had an inclination, had an interest in applying to this festival, followed that interest, let go of needing a result, let go of how it would unfold, knowing they have no control over it anyways. And all of a sudden, this window of opportunity, this door opens up. And so we're going to go over there and play. And God knows, who knows what comes as a result of that? If nothing else, an amazing experience happens. So music, music has not let me go. It's just been a very strange time. Point is, follow the inclination, see where it leads, and you just don't know. And so that can be the smallest interest. That can be the smallest inclination. Just walking through a mall and say, I don't know, I just feel like I want to go into this shop. You go into this shop and God knows what happens, right? I think probably there are a lot of us who are a bit stifled right now. Some of us who probably at this phase of life and in the current global circumstance just really struggle to find our way. And it can become depressing to not know your way. And so one of the antidotes, one of the ways around that is simply to do that. Do what Bashar says and follow whatever inclination you have that is most prominent, most interesting to you in any given moment. And then just let this become a little game. Let this play out a little bit. See what happens. Put no expectation on it and just see what happens. It's a way of cultivating your intuition as well, by the way, these little micro intuitions. A lot of us have lost touch with our intuition. We look to outside sources as the guideposts for what we should do. We look for other people's advice. We don't trust our own guts anymore because we don't use them. In a lot of cases, we don't use them. We do the conventional thing. We do the quote-unquote smart thing. And we wind up stuck in a corner because it's not the thing we were supposed to do. What we were supposed to do was that still small voice inside us that said, well, actually, don't do that. Go over here and do this. We don't listen to that because going over there and doing that is unconventional or it doesn't seem to lead anywhere. And then when you do that, you get over there and boom, exactly what you needed or wanted appears. So if nothing else, here's a way to begin to tap into your own intuition a little bit, strengthen that muscle, and then see what stronger intuitions come to you. We're in a weird time. Some of us are in a weird age in a weird time, and we're at an interesting crossroads of life. And change is happening, and that can be really, really exciting. Those of us who might be retiring, or maybe our empty nesters or relationships are changing, whatever. It's like this can be a scary time of change and uncertainty, or this can be a really fulfilling and exciting and interesting time of change. And one of the ways in which to navigate that is simply to follow your excitement in any given moment. Follow your inclination in any given moment. And you don't have to believe that came from an extraterrestrial. That's how I got it. Now you're getting it from me, and I am not an alien, although some people have suspected over the years that I am. And I didn't expect to get 40 plus minutes out of this, but here it is for you. You can take it or you can leave it. But if you're struggling at this moment and you don't know the way forward and you don't know what to do, step back from that big picture and in this moment, do or pursue the thing that seems most interesting to you right now. Even if it's just sitting down, looking out your window with a cup of coffee, because you don't know who's going to drive by that changes everything. So that's a weird one, and I don't care because it was my inclination for the past 40 minutes. Do with it what you will. I want to thank you for listening, and hopefully you can use that in some way this week. Just follow a little intuition. Just follow a little glimmer of interest, whatever it is, no matter how strange it is. And the stranger, the better, I say, because if you really want to change, if you really want to open things up, go do and follow some weird stuff because that will take you to different planes, man. Thank you for listening. Good things do happen when you put yourself out there. And I guess we'll just see what the week brings, okay, kids? Thanks a lot and do have a good one.